Today, I want to talk about how, according to the OCC Options Clearing Corporation, there's 3.1 billion synthetic Gamestop shares shorted and on loan. I also want to talk about how the market makers are about to hedge for some massive positions and how that's likely to cause both Gamestop and AMC to run further. So stay tuned and let's make some money. Later in the video, I also want to talk about the massive 1000% gainer we had in the Millionaire Mindset trading group. We don't just trade options, we also trade small, fast-moving momentum news plays. But first, let's dive straight in with the key information. So, Kevin Malone tweeted saying breaking news. According to the Options Clearing Corporation, over 3.1 billion shares of GameStop are now on loan, more than 10 times the float of the stock. So here he's attached a screenshot directly from the OCC database showing the market loan-to-loan balance and hedge loan balance of GameStop shares on loan for various days. Now, I think Kevin Malone has made a slight mistake here because I don't think you add up these on-loan balances day by day because they're separate closing balances at the end of each day. So what that means is each row shows the total number of shares on loan at the close of that day. You don't add these numbers up together, they're separate data points showing the same data but for different days. But what this screenshot is showing us is that on the 10th of May 2024, there was 516 million shares of GameStop on loan. Now on the 13th of May on Monday, that increased from 500 million shares up to 997 million shares. And on the 14th of May, that increased again to 1.5 billion shares. As I said, I don't think it's 3.1 billion shares on loan. I think it's just now 1.576 billion until we get today's update for the 15th of May. So either way, whether it's 3.1 billion shares on loan or 1.576 billion shares on loan and shorted, either way, that's way more shares shorted than exist in the float. We can see GameStop only has a float of 266 million shares. So either way, that's around 5 times the float currently on loan. It also shows a massive increase in the shorts position over the last few days. Now, somebody that clearly spotted this data early was the hedge fund Renaissance Technologies. I've spoken about Renaissance Technologies on the channel before, which has a gain since inception of something absolutely ridiculous like 1,000,000% gains since inception. Renaissance Technologies over the years has racked up gains of more than $100 billion, saying no one in the investment world even comes close, including Warren Buffett, George Soros, Peter Lynch, Steve Cohen, and Ray Dalio. They all fall short. If you invested just $100 in this fund in 1988, it would have grown to $398 million. So clearly Jim Simons, the guy that founded Renaissance Technologies, is a very clever bloke. And that same fund, Renaissance Technologies, just ended Q1 with over 1 million shares in GameStop. They also increased their stake in AMC by 78% to 8.7 million shares. Renaissance Technologies were not only prepared for this run-up, but prepared for something much bigger. And as PJ Matlock tweeted, and can I point out how crazy it is that PJ Matlock, one of the old Atlas trading guys, is buying AMC? He tweeted saying, according to this, these leaps expire this Friday, the third Friday of this month. So this article says, I think I see what DFE is seeing, and that's the leap expiry. Now, as I said at the start of the video, I also wanted to go through the 1000% gainer we had on FFIE. Freak Deline bought in at 8 cents per share, selling at 60 cents per share for a 557% gain. Night Chaos bought in at 25 cents per share, selling at 90 cents per share for a 246% gain. FFIE broke through its pre-market high on Tuesday and pushed up throughout the day on Tuesday and throughout the after hours and throughout the day today on Wednesday, from around 8 cents per share up to 98 cents per share. Now, in the Millionaire Mindset trading group, I tend to alert these fast-moving momentum news plays, and we have an absolute wizard in the group by the name of B who alerts the options trades. Just last week, he alerted the Gamestop $15, $16, $17, $18, $20, and $30 call options, which all ran over 500%. The AMC $3.50 call options, which ran over 200%, and Palantir $22.50 call options, which also ran 30% as well. So guys, be sure to join the Millionaire Mindset Trading Group using the link in the description below for these kinds of daily returns. So back in January and February of 2021, these hedge funds passed out or rolled out their married and divorced puts into 39-month contracts. These leaps aren't actually 3-year contracts, they're specifically 39-month contracts that originated back from February 14th, 2021. And these leap contracts that contain their married and divorced puts expire this Friday. It says when the short sellers were hardcore underwater, rather than attempt to close out of their short position when there was no shares to buy, instead they purchased leap contracts. That way they could keep their short in the game, because a leap is a useful hedge for a short position. Because when you decide you want out, you can exercise your contract to provide you shares with, which you can use to unwind your short position. He says it doesn't negate your loss, but it protects you against that infinite risk of a short position. Because while you're holding a short position, you're also holding call leaps. As your short position goes down and generates you infinite losses, those call leaps technically go up and generate you infinite gains. The infinite gains offset those infinite losses, at least momentarily, so the hedge funds can avoid taking that massive loss. But now obviously these leaps are expiring, they actually have to go into the market and buy those shares to close out of their short position. And he said, so when the sneeze was blowing up back in January of 2021, these hedge funds purchased leaps, and they purchased them at the furthest out distance, which was 39 months, because it's cheaper than getting squeezed and it's easy. Because they can also tell FINRA they're flat on the trade because they have shorts and they also have longs. And he says this way the hedge fund didn't have to close out of their short position, and the hedge fund was holding the leap in the hopes they never had to use it and they never had to exercise it and actually buy the shares back. They were obviously hoping both GameStop and AMC would hit zero and they would never have to realise that short position. They could effectively just leave the unrealised gain forever and draw additional money on that unrealised gain. So ultimately what this all means, and as a bit of a too long didn't read, these hedge funds are about to have to purchase tons and tons and tons of real shares to close out of their short positions from January 2021. And now not only that, but because of T+2, these market makers have to hedge for all of the current options that are in the money by also buying shares. They also have to theoretically close out of all previous FTDs from a T+5, T+21 and T+35 basis. Now obviously the chance of them actually closing out of those FTDs is pretty much zero, as it hasn't happened over the last 3 years, but it's just something extra I thought I'd point out. And all of that's currently coming together to make the GameStop chart and the AMC chart look very similar to how it was back in 2021. And it also makes this chart look primed for an even further run up. Now the reason why I say this is because check out the current setup right now in 2024 compared to 2021. So we have a day or two of gaining some volume and a bit of a takeoff here on the 2nd and the 3rd of May. We then have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days trading pretty much flat, a day of taking off further, a day again of taking off further, and a day of consolidating. And now if I scroll all the way back to 2021, we have a day of getting some volume and taking off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of trading flat, a day of taking off again, a day of taking off further, and you guessed it, another day of consolidation. Here on the 26th of January 2021, we traded entirely inside the range of the 25th of January and also the 24th before that. Let me quickly outline this a little bit better so we can see on the 24th and 25th, we traded in the range between $10.58 and $39.80. And then on the 26th of January 2021, we again traded inside that range between $20 and $37. And again, as I pointed out, right now in 2024, on the 13th and 14th of 2024, we've traded in the range from $24 to $64. And again, today, the 15th, we traded in that same enclosed range between $31 and $42. And that effectively sets us up, you guessed it, for another day of pushing up higher and potentially another day after that of moving even higher than that. Back in 2021, GameStop topped out at $120 per share. Now, obviously, that's adjusted for their additional share issue and doesn't include pre or post market trading, but you get the picture. So what I'm basically saying is that providing we're following the same algorithm tomorrow on Thursday and also on Friday, we should see GameStop push up higher to $120, if not $189 per share, which is that previous level that I went over in my previous video. And Earnings Whisperer has also even tweeted saying the short squeeze potential for AMC is actually much greater than GameStop, FYI. So you can see from this chart, at least pretty much since 2023, the price of AMC has remained fairly flat or decreased slightly, but the number of shares shorted has increased significantly. So you can see the number of AMC shares shorted in 2021 up to now has risen from just a few million shares shorted up to 60 million shorted. But on the other hand, in GameStop, the number of shares shorted has remained pretty much flat since 2021, at 50 million or less. That suggests the reason why the AMC price has fallen is due to this massive increase in short interest, whereas GameStop's price has fallen but the short interest has remained flat, basically suggesting AMC is way more coiled up for a bigger squeeze. But guys, be sure to let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always guys, be sure to ding that notification bell, because that way you'll be alerted when I upload a new video. Cheers.